Beginning, the captive. The interrogation chamber was cold, sterile, and oppressive. Dim lights flickered overhead, casting long, jagged shadows across the metal walls. Tira, a young alien cub barely past adolescence by her species' reckoning, sat restrained in a high-tech chair. Her small frame shivered, partly from fear, mostly from anger. Across from her stood Interrogator Krell, a veteran enforcer of the Draca Dominion, a feared military hierarchy that spanned multiple star systems. Krell was tall, with armor etched in ceremonial glyphs of dominance. His hands were mechanical, precise, and unyielding. "You know why you're here," Krell said, voice flat and cold. He slammed a metallic rod against the armrest, making Tira flinch. "Tell me where the rebels are hiding, or this will get worse." Tira's tail flicked with restrained fury. She wasn't a fighter yet, not fully grown, but she wasn't weak either. Pain had sharpened her mind as much as her body. Krell bent her small fingers back with practiced cruelty. She hissed, a mix of pain and defiance. One finger broke with a sharp crack. Blood welled, but Tira didn't scream. Instead, she memorized every detail of his face, the scars, the slight twitch in his left eye, the smell of oil and metal that clung to him. Every imperfection, every weakness, she logged into her mind. "I'll start with 10 of them," she whispered to herself, barely audible. The words were a promise, a plan. Pain had become her teacher. Vengeance, her strategy. Middle, the escape plan. The chamber doors hissed open hours later. Krell assumed she had broken, that her spirit was crushed. Guards escorted Tira to a holding cell, expecting compliance. But the cub had already been planning her escape. Using the tiniest gestures, a subtle twist of her wrist, a shift in weight, she manipulated the restraints. The guards didn't notice until it was too late. A faint hum in the walls revealed ventilation ducts. Tira slipped through, small enough to evade the sensors. She moved silently, her heart beating in sync with the echo of Krell's earlier cruelty. Each step was measured, purposeful, and precise. As she navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the Dominion station, Tira recalled everything Krell had done, every twist of pain, every mocking glance, every calculated insult. By the time she reached the hangar bay, her plan was crystal clear. She would hunt those responsible, starting with Krell, and then extend her retribution to 10 others who had tormented her species. First target, Interrogator Krell. Krell was in the command tower, reviewing reports of her supposed break. He didn't expect her to have survived the ducts, the sensors, and the armed patrols. Tira crouched above him, a shadow against the ceiling, tail coiled like a spring. Her species' physiology allowed her to move silently, even above surveillance, a trait few enemies ever anticipated. With a swift movement, she dropped onto his desk, a blur of claws and strength. Krell barely had time to react before Tira's hands pinned him. "You remember me," she hissed, voice low, dangerous. Her broken finger throbbed, but it only fueled her resolve. Krell grunted, attempting to push her off, but his mechanical hands weren't fast enough. "Child, this is rebellion. You call it rebellion. I call it survival," Tira snapped. "And you'll remember me. Every scar, every detail, every fear." Before he could respond, Tira disabled the security systems with tools she had carried hidden on her body. The room went dark except for emergency lights. Krell's armor made him slow. She moved with fluid precision, striking where his joints were vulnerable. He collapsed, stunned, humiliated, and alive, but broken in ego. She didn't kill him, not yet. That wasn't her style. Instead, she left him bound, disoriented, and terrified, a message to the Dominion: the cub would return. Second and third targets, the Dominion officers. Tira's reputation spread quickly through the station. The first whispers of the cub who remembers every strike made seasoned officers uneasy. Her next targets were 2 officers who had watched the interrogations. Both underestimated her, thinking her small size and youth would make her powerless. But Tira's mind was a weapon. Using shadowed corridors and knowledge of patrol rotations, she set traps, energy nets, collapsing ceilings, and disorienting gas, all non-lethal yet terrifying. When she confronted the officers, they realized too late that their fear had been catalogued by someone far smarter than they expected. Tira immobilized them, leaving each with a precise message. "I remember. And I'll never forget." By now, she was moving like a ghost through the station, leaving a trail of bound officers, each traumatized and unable to fully comprehend the cub who outsmarted the galaxy's elite. The turning point: confrontation with the commander. Word of Tira's exploits reached the commander of the Dominion station, a towering figure known as Zarath Vek. He underestimated youth and assumed she could be caught. But when he attempted to deploy a squad to capture her, the cub anticipated every move. She lured the squad into the hangar bay, where she had prepared a complex ambush using the station's systems against them. Lights flickered, doors slammed, and surveillance misled the troops. Within moments, all 10 soldiers were incapacitated. Tira approached the commander himself, stepping from shadows like a predator. He towered over her, but she didn't flinch. "You've caused chaos," Zarath boomed. "Do you think you can survive this?" "I don't think." "I know," Tira replied. Her broken finger pulsed, a reminder of why she was here. "Every strike against me, every humiliation, is now fuel for 10 times the retribution." The fight was brief but fierce. Zarath had strength, experience, and weapons, but Tira had agility, cunning, and unrelenting memory. Every motion he made, she anticipated, exploiting weaknesses he hadn't realized she observed. When it ended, Zarath was left bound in the center of the bay, humiliated. The cub's eyes glowed softly in the dim light, a promise that she would not stop until every target was accounted for. Climax: the revenge plan solidified. By now, the Dominion station was in disarray. Officers and soldiers whispered of the cub that remembered everything and never forgot a face. Tira retreated to a secure observation point, counting the 10 primary targets she intended to hold accountable. Interrogator Krell, broken finger, terror instilled. Lieutenant Xylar mocked and humiliated the cub. Sergeant Vryn oversaw daily punishments. Officer Nolla assisted in the interrogation. Commander Zarath Vek, personally responsible for oppressive rule. Technician Rule sabotaged life support systems during captivity. Warden Malek kept the cub restrained during experiments. Strategist Oren planned attacks against her species. Guard Captain Thar failed to stop her escape. Supreme Overseer Lurok orchestrated the station's regime. Each one had contributed in some way to the pain she had endured. Each face, each gesture, each flaw had been catalogued. Tira whispered softly, a grin on her lips. 10. I'll start with 10, and then the rest will follow. Her plan was precise. She wouldn't act recklessly. She would dismantle the Dominion station piece by piece, using intelligence, cunning, and patience. Ending: victory and the future.